Hi everyone, Dr. Hatami is here. In this short video, we're talking about the muscle and nervous tissue. So muscle and nervous tissue are two of our major tissue types in the body. So epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue, these are the four major tissue types, which in this video we're talking about the muscle tissue, which is responsible to move our body and its parts, and nervous tissue, which is responsible to create signals and conduct the nerve impulses to our body. Let's start with the muscular tissue, which is responsible to contract and make the movement. So muscle tissue it's specialized to contract, and we have different type of muscle tissue in our body based on their structure, based on their function, and based on their location. We can divide our muscular tissue to the skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. The reason we call them as skeletal muscle because they are going to be connected to our skeleton, like your biceps muscle, your hamstring muscle. They have lots of skeletal muscle tissue. Actually, they are made of the skeletal muscle tissue. So the muscle in the your heart wall is actually the cardiac muscle. So cardio means muscle, and cardiac muscle would be found in the wall of the heart. And a smooth muscle or the muscle tissue would be found in the wall of your hollow organs, like in the wall of your stomach, in the wall of your urinary bladder, in wall of your small intestine. Let's talk about the skeletal muscle and the skeletal muscle tissue a little bit. So if you look at the skeletal muscle under a microscope, you can see this light and dark band, light and dark band. We call this as striations. So the skeletal muscles are striated, and also they are voluntary. They functions in voluntary movement of the body. For example, if I ask you, please raise your hand, you can do it because you want it and you did it, right? That is the definition of the voluntary movement. So the skeletal muscle would be controlled by our conscious mind. So they have a striated appearance, and also they have many nuclei, and their nucleus would be found just under their plasma membrane. The smooth muscle tissue, the reason we call them as smooth because there is no striations. So they have no striations, and also they are involuntary, as they're going to be found in the wall of your blood vessel wall, in the wall of the blood vessel and the wall of the digestive tract, like as I said, stomach, small intestine. We don't have any control of their contraction, and the cells are spindle shaped, and they have one single nucleus at their center, as you can see in this histology picture. And cardiac muscle, they are actually have a single nucleus, but they still striated. So you can see striations under microscope, and these are also involuntary muscles. So we have two involuntary muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, one voluntary muscle, and these two, skeletal and cardiac, both are striated, but the smooth muscle is not striated. Let's review. As we said, the muscular tissue is specialized to contract and then make a movement and generate the force. The cells of the muscle tissue is called muscle cells or muscle fibers. So we divided them to the skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle. Smooth muscle, they can do voluntary functions. The smooth muscle would be controlled involuntarily, and also same for cardiac muscle. We saw striated appearance under microscope for skeletal muscle and also for cardiac muscle, but not for the smooth muscle. We also said these skeletal muscle cells are very long and they have many nuclei, and then the smooth muscle, the cells are spindle shaped and they only have one nucleus, and for cardiac muscle the cells are connected together by intercalated disc. So intercalated disc is a unique structure only going to be found between the cardiac muscle cell, and it shows that there is junction between the cardiac muscle cells. And you should know where can we find them. Skeletal muscle can be found attached to the bones, smooth muscle can be found in all of the internal organs, and cardiac muscle can be found only in the heart wall. Now let's look at the nervous tissue. The nervous tissue communicates, it controls, it makes the action potential, and also it conduct the action potential or electrical signals. So nervous tissue is composed of neurons and glial cells. So we have two types of cells for our nervous tissue. Neurons, which these cells are the primary signaling cell, which means these are the cells can make the electrical signals. These are the cells can conduct the electrical signals, but the other cells, which are called glial cells or neuroglia, they are supportive cells. Okay, so they're going to support the neurons, they're going to nourish the neurons, and they're going to be found around the neurons. What is the function of the nervous tissue? So as we said, nervous tissue communicates. They are responsible to collect the information from our environment through the sensory receptors and then send this information to the our brain, which should be integration. So in our brain we are going to process and interpret all of those sensations, and then again the motor output, which means they're going to send the signals to the muscle and glands. So these are the three functions of the nervous tissue. Sensory output input, which means that they're going to collect the sensory information, all of the changes, and send them to the integration center. They are responsible to do interpreting, processing, integrating, and then also they are responsible to send the signals out to the muscle and glands. Now let's take a look at a neuron. So that is a neuron structure. So we are going to define a cell body for a neuron, which at the cell body we have the nucleus and other organelles, and then this cytoplasmic process of a neuron is called dendrite. As you can see, dendrites are short and branched processes which they are responsible to receive the information. So they are receiver. They carry information toward the cell body. And then a neuron has a one single long cytoplasmic process which is called axon. So as you can see, the axon is going to transmit the signals away from the cell body toward another cell. So some of the axons can be covered by the myelin. So myelin is a fatty substance for insulation. So as you can see here, these sheath around the axons is going to be called as a myelin sheath. Okay. And also you should know the difference between a nerve and a neuron. So neuron is actually a nerve cell. But when we're talking about a nerve, like your sciatic nerve, that is a bundle of the axons traveling to and from the brain and the spinal cord. So the collection of the axons of many neurons together, they're gonna make a nerve. So neuron is a nerve cell and nerve is a bundle of the axons. Okay, so let's talk about the glial cells or supporting cells. So actually the number of glial cells in our brain is too many, or is more than the neuron. So the number would be like 9 to 1. So it means that the neurons are so spoiled cells. They need lots of care, and that's the reason glial cells are there to take care of them, and their actual function is to support them and nourish the neurons. Thank you for watching.